Hi viewers, my name is Mohammed Tufail. I am assistant professor at University of Similar Campus Badin. And in today's class, we will talk about sampling. This class basically is recorded for the students of BS English Part 1 who have taken research methodology as one of the major subjects. So, we would connect this class in our previous classes of research and then we would proceed further. Sampling is a method that is used to collect information from the respondent in research inquiry. As we discussed, research basically is a scientific and systematic inquiry, and it is not based on mere assumptions or presumptions or opinion, but it is based on concrete, measurable data and are documented proof or evidence. So research studies are conducted either to aid something new in the existing wall of knowledge or to answer any question or to solve problem. There's any problem and we conduct a research inquiry to solve that problem. In past, human beings, they were using different sources and a means of knowledge to understand the phenomena and the reality in their surrounding, etc. But these sources were either nature, whatever their direct contact with the nature and whatever they learned through their observation and experience. Then there was another source of learning that was the traditions and cultures, whatever they got from the traditions and culture, and sometimes they got from the authorities, sometimes they got from that superior source. But the research doesn't believe in these kinds of means and methods of acquiring knowledge because these means or method of inquiry and knowledge, they were not valid, they were not authentic, they were not completely reliable, there were different flaws, there were faults, and if they had their own shortcomings. Then research studies started to follow the method what we call scientific method. Here in research, when we imply scientific method, we don't go with a sheer opinion or presumption and assumption, but in research, whatever the findings are inferred or deduced, they are based on certain concrete measurable evidence or data or documented proof or certain evidences which back up the finding or conclusion. We don't jump to conclusion without logical support of material in the data. So when we conduct research, we come in a field, then we need a data, and when we need to collect the data, we the respondent where we are going to collect information, that is called population. Because when we are studying sampling, today's topic, it is connected with the larger term population. First, we understand what is a population, then we will go to sampling. Population basically is the entire area that where the research is being conducted, and all the respondents who are the part of that research studies or who are respondent or who are connected where this research is being carried out, that would be population. Suppose if it is anthropological studies, and in this research, a researcher is going to trying to know or dissect the ways and mean the people of the desert, they live, they reside, their culture, etc. So entire people of the would be the populations of that study. If I want to conduct a research about English language teaching in Badin district, then all the schools of Badin district would fall into the domain of the populations of my study. So when the population is small, we don't need to go through the process of sampling. But when the population is larger, then we need to go through the process of a sampling. Why? For example, if I want to know how English is being taught in the all schools of Badin district, and there are more than 6 or 7,000 schools, it will be very difficult for me to visit each and every school and collect information and then to present my findings. So for that reason, I will not go to all 5,000 schools of Badin district. Badin district that is subdivided into talkas, the tehsils, and again divided into subdivisions, then UCs, etc. So what I plan, I say that if there are, for example, 100 UCs in the whole Badin district, so I have decided to choose two schools from each UCs, and this is how I would take 200 schools, and these 200 schools would be representative of 5,000 schools in Badin district. तो जो टोटल पॉपुलेशन है उसके ये जो मेरे सैंपल्स हैं 200 जो सैंपल्स हैं इसको हम अस्यूम करेंगे कि ये 500 स्कूल्स के तर्जमान हैं जो चीज़ें हमें यहाँ पे नज़र आएंगी उनको हम 5,000 स्कूल्स पे जनरलाइज करेंगे और इस तरीके से हम समझेंगे कि ये जो सैंपल है ये असल में हमारी पूरी पॉपुलेशन का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है उसका तर्जमान है तो चूंकि ये बहुत अहम एरिया है जो सैंपल है वो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है तर्जमान है पूरी पॉपुलेशन का अगर यहाँ पे गलती हो जाएगी तो फिर जो रिजल्ट आएगा वो रिजल्ट रियल नहीं होगा और वो हकीकी जो पॉपुलेशन है उसकी तर्जुमानी नहीं करता होगा that is the real issue in a sampling. Okay, when we go with the process of sampling we want to know that what is it is way and how it is being conducted and what are its method and techniques and what different type of things. Okay, so this is a simple definition that what the sample is, and it is a finite part of. This is a simple part of this statistical populations whose properties are studies. Okay, whatever the area we are going to study, as I mentioned, but in districts education. So we are going to take all institutes or schools of Badin district. Uh, if a writer wants to work on the short stories of Manto, so all short stories of Manto would be his entire population. And if they are unlimited, then again we try to go through the process of a sampling and we select some of the stories. And for example, I want to conduct research on the plot of a short stories and how it has evolved. So what I would do, okay, I would now there are thousands of that short stories, even millions of short stories. Then I would go through the process of the sampling and I would select stories from each historical period and I would analyze their plot and relatively I would develop a kind of interconnectedness and relevance and the historical development of a plot, etc. So this is how I would draw my conclusion or my generalization or whatever I deduce and infer. That will be based on that particular number of sampling or sample stories what I collect, what I select from the different historical periods. So this sampling helps us to um, find the actual representative of the entire populations. Okay, and this process is that is technique selecting suitable sample or a representative part of a population for the purpose of determining parameters. Okay, you know, whatever we find with this sample we would generalize it, we would relate it to the entire population. What is a good with the sample, that's a good with the population. What is a problem with the population with the sample, the same problem would be generalized to the population. So consider that they are the representative या तर्जमान है जो उस population के. Sampling is the process of selecting units, okay, peoples, organizations from a. So you can select schools from entire districts. You want to conduct research how hospitals are working in the sin. So you may select one or two hospitals from each district and then you come up with this sample, this sampling process, and you would collect data and information from these 2 or 3 hospitals from each district, and then your findings will be based on that sampling quantity, but at the end, whatever the findings would come on the basis of this sampling quantity, we would generalize, we would connect that to other hospitals of that Sindh province. So this is how this sampling technique moves forward. So we have a two type of a sampling method. Okay, we call them probability method and we call them non-probability method. प्रोबेबिलिटी मेथड वो मेथड होता है जिसमें हर सैंपल को इंडिपेंडेंट और इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी होती है उस स्टडी का हिस्सा बन सके, जबकि जो नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग होती है उसमें जो है ना उसके चांसेस कम होते हैं और उसमें उसके मिस होने के चांसेस कम होते हैं उस सैंपल के। तो प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग के अंदर चूंकि कि ईच सैंपल हैज ए इक्वल नॉन जीरो प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ being selected, means they have a chance, they have an option to be selected for their studies. So comparatively, that is probability sampling is more scientific in that sense as compared to non-probability. But again, they have their own domains and they have their own um, limitations, and also their scope varies. So we have to move accordingly, and when we are going to choose any type of a sampling, we need to be contained to that particular point. Therefore it is necessary to move forward. So let us understand that how these two types of sampling, what we call random sampling, probability sampling, and then we call non-probability sampling. And these probability sampling are further categorized into subparts. Okay, suppose probability sampling is subdivided into random sampling, systematic sampling, and stratified sampling. Whereas the non-probability samplings are classified into convenience sampling, judgment sampling, and quota sampling and snowball sampling. So we have a probability sampling and a non-probability sampling, and then this probability and non-probability samplings are further subdivided into subgroups. Okay, and these subgroups are subparts are discussed as. And now see, in the probability sampling, first we have a random sampling. Okay, when we talk about this random sampling, okay, it is the purest form of probability sampling. Each member of the population has an equal or known chance of being selected. Okay, this is very much famous, that each component, each member, each school is likely to be selected, each member is likely to be selected, each organization is likely to be selected, each hospital is likely to be selected, each bank is likely to be selected if you are going to conduct a study on banks or hospitals or schools or people. So this is a random sampling. When there are a very large population, it is often difficult or impossible to identify every member of the population. So the pool of available subjects becomes biased. Okay. So चूँकि ये बहुत ज़्यादा जो है वो नंबर होता है, तो उसमें फिर इसको तय करना तो निस्बतन ज़ाहिर बात है मुमकिन नहीं होता, लेकिन आप फिर उसमें से उनको चुन लेते हैं और फिर उनमें से डेटा कलेक्ट करते हैं। लेकिन इसमें इम्कान होता है कि जो आप उनमें से डेटा कलेक्ट करें, मिसाल के पूरी सिंध से हॉस्पिटल से मैं डेटा कलेक्ट करूं और मैंने जो रैंडमली चुन ली, बदीन की दो चुन ली और फिर पता चले कि बदीन की ये दो हॉस्पिटल्स में कंपेरेटिवली बेहतर काम करती थी, बाकी जितनी भी 80 हॉस्पिटल्स थी वो वर्स्ट कंडीशन में थी, तो फिर this can lead to us this bias and misunderstanding, and the findings become problematic. Okay. Systematic sampling, that is another type of probability sampling, is often used instead of a random sampling. It is also called an nth name selection technique. Okay. अच्छा, इसमें हम क्या करते हैं, ये एन जो है, एन जो है ना, आप कोई भी नंबर जो है ना, मिसाल के तौर पे आप स्टडी कर रहे हैं क्लास में और आप किसी स्कूल्स में जाते हैं। मैं ये रिसर्च कर रहा हूँ कि अंग्रेजी जो है ना वो मैट्रिक क्लास में कैसे पढ़ाई जाती है, और तो मैंने जिन स्टूडेंट से बात करनी है वो सब मैट्रिक क्लास के हों, तो मैं अपनी जिस जिस स्कूल को विजिट करता हूँ, मैं उस स्कूल में जो है ना उस टीचर्स को कहता हूँ कि आपके मैट्रिक क्लास में जितने भी स्टूडेंट्स इनरोल्ड हैं, उसके हर चौथे नंबर पे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं ना वो आप मुझे दे दें, पहला दे दें, फिर चार को छोड़ें, पांचवा नंबर जिसका रोल नंबर वो दे दें, फिर चार को छोड़ें, नाइन्थ नंबर दे दें, फिर इस तरीके से। तो एंथ नंबर मकसद उस नंबर के बाद, तीन के बाद हर तीसरा, हर चौथा, हर पांचवा स्टूडेंट्स मुझे दे दें। तो इस तरीके से we just take this nth number, okay, and it depends after the required sample size has been calculated, every nth record is selected from a list of the population. So this nth आप 10वां नंबर ले लें, 15वां नंबर ले लें, तो इस तरीके से आप वो स्टूडेंट्स चुन लेते हैं और वो आपका nth नंबर जो है वो सिलेक्ट होता है, और फिर आप जो भी डाटा इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करते हैं उससे करते हैं और फिर वो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बन जाता है और पॉपुलेशन। तो दिस इज सिस्टमेटिक सैम्पलिंग। दिस ये जो है ना वो प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग का दूसरा जो है ना वो सबसेक्शन था। Third subsection of is probability sampling is stratified sampling. This word strate is plural of word stratum. Stratum means class, कोई ग्रुप कोई सब ग्रुप जो है ना। तो कुछ हम स्टडीज करते हैं, जो स्टडीज का असल जो हमारी पॉपुलेशन होती है वो डिवाइड होती है ग्रुप्स में। मिसाल के तौर पे अब जो बच्चे स्कूल्स में पढ़ते हैं उसमें पेरेंट्स का क्या रिस्पांस होता है। अब देखिए पेरेंट्स अमीर भी होते हैं, गरीब भी होते हैं, पेरेंट्स शहरों के भी होते हैं, देहात के भी होते हैं। तो अब जो पेरेंट्स का यहाँ पे हमारी पॉपुलेशन है, ये पॉपुलेशन डिवाइडेड है इनटू क्लासेस। दीज आर डिफरेंट क्लासेस। अब अगर हम सिर्फ शहर के लोगों से तालीम के बारे में पूछेंगे तो हमारे रिस्पांस कुछ और मिलेगा। अगर हम सिर्फ जो ना गरीबों से पूछेंगे तो हमें रिस्पांस कुछ और मिलेगा। और अगर हम गांव के बंदों से पूछेंगे तालीम के बारे में तो रिस्पांस कुछ और मिलेगा। अब इन स्ट्रैटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग, बिकॉज दीज आर डिफरेंट क्लासेस आर इन्वॉल्व हियर, so what we would do in that sense, in order to have a actual picture of the situation, we want to know the things as it really is, okay? So for knowing this actual picture, what we would do, वी वुड सेलेक्ट पीपल फ्रॉम द सिटी। हम शहरों से भी लोग चुनेंगे, गांव से भी चुनेंगे, अमीर लोग भी चुनेंगे, गरीब लोग भी चुनेंगे। फ्रॉम ईच स्ट्राटम वी वुड select people from each stratum, and then we just get information, and at the end we would analyze each stratum, and our finding would be supported by the information given by a different study involved in that studies, what every group thinks, what every group behaves, what every group responds. So this stratified sampling is used when we the involved subjects they vary to different stratum. या अगर आपकी कोई स्टडी जिसमें मर्द औरत सब शामिल होते हैं तो हम उसमें जो है ना वो उसको देखेंगे। शॉपिंग में लोगों को क्या चीज़ अच्छी लगती है, इसमें आप एज के बुनियाद पर जो है ना वो स्ट्रैटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग कर सकते हैं। बच्चों को क्या अच्छा लगता है, नौजवानों को क्या अच्छा लगता है, खवातीन को क्या अच्छा लगता है, मर्दों को क्या अच्छा लगता है, किस एज में क्या क्या चीज़ें उनको अच्छी लगती हैं। तो दीज आर ग्रुप्स and we divide our population into groups and we collect a sample from each group and then we collect information, and on the basis of that particular class we just uh, try to correlate and connect the finding of this study. So this is called stratified sampling, okay. Then you come to non probability sampling, चूंकि इसमें नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि इसमें हर सैंपल के इन्वॉल्व होने का या उस स्टडी में शामिल होने का तो 100% चांस जो नहीं है, ये जो ना उसमें जो ना उसका वो जीरो चांस नहीं है। तो इसलिए हम इसको जो ना नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग कहते हैं। In non-probability samplings is further categorized into sub classes or subgroups. Here is a convenience sampling. It is used to exploratory research where the researcher is interested in getting an inexpensive approximations of the truth. As the name implies, the sample is selected because they are convenient. Okay. Now you see that this is a type of sampling that everybody uses. I'm going to conduct research on private schools, and there's a school in front of my house, and it's very convenient to me, so I take it as a convenient sampling. And many studies, you know, people come up with this type of excuse. So because this the convenience sampling, the means to collect the data are the representative who are very close to you, are the data are available available, or they can easily be approached, and other reason maybe time, maybe space, maybe distance, or maybe other limitations. So वी मूव कि मैं अगर इन लोगों से पता करती तो वो दूसरे शहर में रहते थे, वहां जाने के लिए मुझे 2 दिन स्टे करना पड़ता, तो उसके बजाय ये लोग यहाँ मौजूद थे तो आई टू। लेकिन उसमें फिर ये प्रॉब्लम होगा कि उसकी फाइंडिंग्स जो है उस स्टडी की वो भी प्रॉब्लमेटिक हो सकती है। तो वी हैव to clear it that whether the convenience sampling is really valid, and it is really profound, and it is justified, because you are going to conduct an inquiry, and that inquiry would cater the result, and that result must be based on very scientific and proper method. So we have to justify if we are going to imply this convenience sampling in our studies. And then this is judgment sampling. Okay, what is judgment sampling? This is also a common non-probability method. The researcher selects the sample based on judgment. Okay, here is again, this is judgment कि मुझे लगता है कि ये बंदा जो है ना इसका सही जवाब देगा. For example, a researcher may decide to draw the entire sample from one representative city, even though the populations includes all cities. Okay, मुझे लगता है कि तमाम शहरों के हालात एक जैसे हैं, तो बदीन के शहरों से जो मैं मालूमात ले लूंगा वो कराची, हैदराबाद, बाकी शहरों की भी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव होगी. तो आई थिंक दैट दिस इज नॉट अ प्रॉपर वे. एंड इसमें प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, या यहाँ के लोगों को जो अंग्रेजी समझने में बदीन के लोगों को जो प्रॉब्लम आते हैं, तो मैं समझता हूँ बाकी लोगों को भी यही कुछ आता होगा. बट अगेन दीज आर कल्चरल डिफरेंसेस, डिफरेंट फैक्टर्स आर देयर. And I think that this type of assembly sampling may may lead us, may mislead us or misguide us. The findings may not be that much justified and scientific to correlate and connect with studies. Okay, so when using this method, the researcher must be confident that the chosen sample is truly representative. That's very important. For example, I'm a teacher of language literature, and I have this experience, and on the basis of that experience, I judge certain things, and on the basis of judgment, I select sample, and that is very much scientific. They are very much relevant. Then there's no harm to use this thing. But you know that this is a judgment, and judgment is always subjective, and subjective thing also creates a kind of a doubt in studies, that if the researcher is subjective, or any tool or any method or any approach or any technique that's being used in that research, it is subjective, it causes a question. Okay, and sometimes also creates doubt. And when we go to defend that study in our defense system or session, there we need to clarify that particular area. So we need to be careful about this type of a judgmental sampling. Then there's a quota sampling. It is a non-probability equivalent of a stratified sampling. Okay, what is the difference between stratified sampling and a quota sampling? Okay, you know that like in stratified sampling, the researcher first identifies the stratas and their proportions as they are represented in the populations. Okay, so there he selects that how many strata are involved in that study. So he selects those stratas, and then he just gets them. He selects all the stratas, and then he their properties there. Okay, but in the next areas, okay, sampling is used to select the required number of the subjects. Okay, so what is the difference between stratified sampling and a quota sampling? In stratified sampling हम ये करते हैं कि हम हर क्लास का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव चुनते हैं, और यहाँ पे कोटा में हम उनके नंबर के हिसाब से, कि अब देखें कि अब मैं रिसर्च कर रहा हूँ कि अंग्रेजी कैसे पढ़ाई जा रही है. अब अंग्रेजी जो है ना, बदीन के अंदर जो है ना, वो 400 स्कूल हैं, जिसमें 300 स्कूल शहरों शहरों में मौजूद हैं, जबकि 100 स्कूल जो है ना वो देहात में मौजूद हैं. अब मुझे सैम्पलिंग जो करनी होगी तो कोटा के हिसाब से करनी होगी, क्योंकि शहर के 300 स्कूल हैं और देहात के 100 स्कूल हैं, तो मुझे कोटा वो रखनी चाहिए. अब अगर यहाँ पे मैं बराबर करूंगा तो इट विल नॉट बी साइंटिफिक मैटर. सो वी हैव टू डिसाइड how much quota should be given to each group, and then we should move forward. Okay, then there's another sampling what we call snowball sampling. Achha, snowball sampling is also interesting method of sampling. We use this method in which the researcher is not confirmed the real population or the exact sampling. So what happens that whenever a researcher comes in the contact with a specific a particular sample, जब उसका किसी एक सैंपल से वास्ता पड़ता है, जब उससे मुलाकात होती है या उसको आइडेंटिफाई करता है, दैट सैंपल अगेन लीड्स हिम टुवर्ड्स another sample. For example, I'm studying about classical music of sin, and I don't know that who can guide me, who can talk on that particular area, who's the expert. Then I start finding them. I come to know that there is a particular person who knows about Sindhi classical music, and he lives in far corner of third desert. And I go there and I ask him. He responds my some questions, and he suggests me that there's another person who is also well acquainted with the classical, Sindhi classical music, and that person lives in Sakha. And after finding with his reference that I go to Sakha, and the person who sits in Sakha again gives me another reference that is in Karachi. So this is how this is called snowball sampling, and we just finding our targeted sample when the population is not killer, our population is not easily accessible, or we can't identify them. Then through this process, okay, we try to find them, and then we collect information from each samples, and finally we come to the end. Okay, so what are the difference between probability and non-probability sampling? Probability sampling allow the use of statistics and test hypothesis. Okay, ये आपको स्टेटिस्टिक्स इस्तेमाल करने का मौका देती है, और फिर आपको ये होता है कि हाइपोथेसिस को आप टेस्ट करते हैं. Non-probability sampling we use, okay, this exploratory research and generates hypothesis. उसमें हम hypothesis को टेस्ट करते हैं, इसमें हम जनरेट करते हैं, और ये exploratory research जब हम एक्सप्लोर करने आते हैं उसमें हमें जो है ना मदद देती है. That probability can estimate population's parameters, whereas the population parameters are not of interest. Okay, क्योंकि जो probability है उसमें हमारे populations के parameters हैं वो हमारा interest नहीं है, इसलिए हम जो है ना we can choose that non probability sampling. और जब हमें पॉपुलेशन के पैरामीटर्स को स्टडी करना होता है या वो हमारा फोकस होता है, then we cannot go with this type of approach of judgmental etc. Then we have to choose this probability sampling. It estimates eliminates bias. Okay, you know this probability sampling in which every sample has a zero probability to be chosen. So this is, there's no room for bias, subjectivity, or any prejudice, whereas here in non-probability sampling, it is the adequacy of the samples cannot be known. So this is could be the possible drawback. Okay, we must have random selections of units where this is cheaper, easier, quicker to carry out. Non-probability sampling basically is cheaper, is easier and quicker to carry out as compared to probability sampling. But one again, I must repeat that when we come to the area of defense of that study or justifications of that study, whatever the tool or technique or method or means we use in a research study, so we need to justify it at the end that whether the way of this sampling has been carried out, it is justified, it is technical, it is scientific, and it would help us. Okay. So actually, what is the purpose of this population is the sampling is that when our population is a large and we cannot approach to the each member of that unit or member of that entire population, then sampling would help us to connect the individual component or member or unit of that population that is a representative of entire population. As a result, it would help us to understand the whole population, and whatever the information we would get from this limited number of candidates or limited number of sampling, that would be generalized to the all populations. Okay, and one thing which is very important, that bias and errors in sampling, well, that's very much important when we conduct a study. This we are in the process of a sampling, it's very necessary to rule out bias, okay, or subjectivity or prejudice on the basis of personal liking and disliking. If a researcher is going to add these type of components in his studies, then ultimately this research would be misleading. Its result won't be effective and profound, and it will be compromised. So, what are just okay expected? This sample is a mirror of populations, okay, that reflects represents the actual populations, and this is a guarantee and is a real representative. Okay, chance may dictate that the disproportionate number of untypical observations will be made, like for the case of the testing fuses, the samples of fuses may consist of more or less faulty fuses than the real population proportions of the faulty cases. Okay, so in practice, it is rarely known that when a sample is unrepresentative and should be discarded. So it is very necessary when you are going to conduct research. Okay, if you find that this sample is not the representative of that particular study which is being conducted, uh, that sample may not give the exact information which is required to carry on that study. In that sense, we are bound to discard or that reject that particular sample, so that we could go to a authentic state of the research studies. And what are the errors can be the possible errors? Okay, unrepresentative of its populations. One of the most frequent causes is simple as errors. Okay, what are these sampling errors? Comprises the differences between the sample and the population. Again, same thing. That are due solely due to the particular unit that happens to have been selected. For example, you happen to select a subject that's not the representative of the population, and the information what you get from that unit or subject is not the exact information which is required to represent the population. Suppose that a sample of 100 Pakistani women are measured, and are all found to be taller than 6 feet. It is very clear, even without any statistical proof, that this would be a highly unrepresentative samples. हम पाकिस्तान की 100 में से जो है ना खवातीन को चुनते हैं, और उसमें से जो है ना वो पूरे पाकिस्तान की आबादी में अगर वही 100 खवातीन की कद अगर 6 फुट से ज़्यादा है, तो इससे कुछ साबित नहीं होता कि पाकिस्तान की तमाम खवातीन 6 फुट से ज़्यादा जो है ना वो कद की मालिक है, एक्सेट्रा। तो इस तरह की चीज़ें जो होती हैं, दे आर नॉट रियल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, सो देयर आर द चांस ऑफ एरर, and same could be okay. I select a student from a school, and unfortunately or accidentally I select those five students who have recently come from Karachi to get admission in the school of the suburban part of Sindh, and because their academic background is sound and profound, so on the basis of their previous academic background from Karachi, they perform very well in my studies, my research studies, and on their performance, I declared that school to be the best school of that particular region. So hence my findings could be misleading, or they are misconstrued. They are not true. Why? Because the sampling error. So these are really important areas when we conduct research, and these areas must be considered before going towards this research. So today's topic, we talked about that what sampling is and why sampling is being conducted. It is in a research, sampling is the process what we use to select the number of representative to represent the entire population. We have a two type of a sampling: probability and a non-probability. In a probability sampling, every sample has equal chance to be the representative of the studies, of the targeted study, whereas in non-probability sampling, they are not. Probability sampling are further divided into groups and convenience and judgmental and stratified sampling, whereas the non-probability samplings are further also classified into groups. Okay, there's a quota sampling, there's a convenience sampling, what is generally used, and we have this what we call snowball sampling. So we have to understand which type of a sampling we could use in a particular study, what is at hand, and how can we justify that specific sampling utility or employment of that particular sampling method in that targeted study. It is very necessary to support and to defend the utility or employment of that specific sampling method in our respective studies. So this is where we would end this class, and hope we would meet in the next class. Thank you very much.